Hey guys, welcome back. It's Jay, but this time it's not Brendan. We actually have another host with us, which is, go ahead.
Chris Osborne. Brendan has to take a back seat this time.
Taking it back. He's actually behind us. He's doing the video stuff.
Saul's job.
Yeah, he's doing Saul's job. And with us today, there's a reason that Chris is actually on this episode. We have Arron, right?
Arron Coote.
Of Bausele Watches. And one of the things that kind of brought him into us was their newest release, which we'll be talking about. I guess we can start. Wrist check. What are you wearing, Chris?
AP Royal Oak 15.4.
Oh.
Silver dial.
Yeah. I'm wearing Euro Tavia Joe Siffert. So this is a vintage watch. How about you?
I'm obviously wearing a Bausele.
That's right.
Ocean Moon 4, which is always our best seller. The fourth version of the Ocean Moon.
Looks great. There's actually also a special engraving on there.
There is a special engraving on there. It says Wimbledon Champions 2022.
Very nice.
Now, if you're wondering why that says Wimbledon Champion 2022, we'll cover it because it's an interesting story as someone who is a tennis fan. All right, so I guess before we get deeper into it, one of the things for, let's say, someone who's listening who isn't familiar with Bausele, like, want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. Bausele is an Australian lifestyle brand founded by Christoph Hopp, who was an ex-CFO within Swatch Group. So he has a deep technical history within the Swatch industry. He also worked for Universo, and he met his wife, who was an Australian dancer in Geneva, and moved back to Australia, where he always says that you always move to the wife's country. That way you have a better life. You have a happier life. And when he got to Australia, he was looking at all of the wrists, and he said there are a couple of okay watch brands here, but nothing premium. So he'd been designing watches since he was a kid, and he saw that as an opportunity to follow his dream. And he started Bausele in 2011. So it started as a love story.
See, as I didn't actually think Bausele was that old. To be quite honest, I've only recently heard of Bausele as a brand, just from seeing other people, even word of mouth. A lot of it to me was word of mouth.
Yeah, we have some very solid supporters in the US and Australia and around the world, actually, that are always pushing and saying, "Hey, look at my new watch."
That's pretty good.
Yeah, we love it. Thank you. Keep doing it.
To think of it, I actually can't think off the top of my head any other Australian brand in watches that.
I'm not going to name them.
Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
Well, it's not even that. I'm not obviously competitors, but it's just kind of an area that I just don't foresee watchmaking or watches or anything like that.
In Australia, we have great design, great fashion, a lot of amazing food and beautiful beaches, and people, hardworking people, striving for success and taking life seriously, but not themselves. We always like to take the piss from ourselves.
That's how it should be, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think so.
If that's, I think, something that kind of happens in this hobby, especially, is that people start taking themselves a little too seriously, and in that, I feel you lose the joy of it.
We take our watches absolutely seriously. I mean, Christo, as a ex-CFO of Swatch Group, is very detailed, and he wants to elevate his product at all times. But one thing he has done, he elevated the product, but he's left the price down. So, as a CEO, I need more margin. So I need him to creep a little higher on those prices.
You heard that.
His quality to price ratio is too good.
Yeah, I mean that's good with Bausele though. I mean, especially now you guys have started doing a lot of collaborations. Also, there's quite a bit of people of notoriety who are wearing your guys' watches. I know that one of them most recently, like I said earlier, the Wimbledon thing, the Wimbledon connection, is Max Purcell and Matthew Ebden, right?
Yeah, Matt wears Bremont. Max wears Bausele.
That's right.
But they're both big watch guys.
So with Max wearing it, who for you listening who's not aware of tennis, they both won the Wimbledon doubles, and it's their first Grand Slam. And sitting with us is not only someone who runs Basel, but also is a Wimbledon winning coach. And you probably can see it on YouTube videos because he was on it, dude. How did that partnership actually come about?
So Max reached out to us via Instagram, reached out to Bausele, and he said, "Hey, I really love your watches." And he reached out a couple of times, and I thought, okay, I'll check this kid out. And then I started watching some of his tennis, and obviously we gave him a watch, and then I started messaging before and after games, because I do a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and like I compete all over the world, and the one-on-one sport, the head game of sport is identical to tennis. It's all self-doubt, and it's all overcoming your own fears to be able to, to do your job under pressure. And then Max and I had been talking for about 18 months or so, and then one day he ended up in almost like a little mentoring position, but two mates. And then he one day he just sent me a text out of nowhere and said, "I need a copy of your passport." And I said, "Okay."
For what?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I trust you, but what for? And then he said, "I've just sacked my coach. I'm getting you accredited for Wimbledon."
Oh shit! Seriously, is that actually how it?
100%.
Wow,
Holy
that is
fuck.
crazy.
And I said, "You know I know nothing about tennis, right?" And to which he laughed. He said, "I've got that side covered. We're going to do good together." And then I turned up on the first day of singles qualies. He'd never qualified for Wimbledon before, and he fought 3 really long battles, and he qualified. First time he qualified for Wimbledon in the singles. So that was a new big win for him, and he just got beat by Manarino in, I think, in a 5th set, another 5-set tiebreak in the first round. Then it was onto the doubles with Matt and Max, and then they did 5-set, 5-set, 5-set super tiebreak, a 3-setter with we got a rest there, and then another 5-set, 5-set, and then in the super tiebreak in the final they ended up winning 10-2. And Max scored 8 of those points. It was incredible. And afterwards,
Monster performance.
Yeah, and afterwards, because someone in the crowd behind me said, "Max has gone into God mode."
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I said to Max, "What happened?" And he goes, "I couldn't miss."
That's so.
Yeah, he was just
so badass.
at the height of his career. He went in full flow and absolutely nailed it. It was incredible.
So he obviously realized somewhere along the line, like, he knew he had the skills in the tennis. Like, he knew he had that part covered. For sure. You opened his eyes to, like, I need to get over this mental hurdle, which is what was kind of holding him back.
He's super strong.
So maybe his other coach wasn't helping him with that, and that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I don't know where he was with his other coach or whatever, but there's a lot of, at any high level, there's a lot of emotion involved, and a lot of stress, and a lot of, I don't know, it's all mental, but especially in doubles, there's a lot of relationship coaching as well.
There's a lot of trust.
You need to get them both trusting each other to know that if I go this way, he's got that way covered. So it was interesting time. Yeah.
Sounds like it. That's awesome.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought that Arron had a tennis experience prior to this.
I'm the Ted Lasso of tennis.
Yeah.
I love it. The Ted Lasso.
We're gonna let's get that Netflix.
No,
let's get
I have.
that show going.
Yeah, that is a Netflix show waiting to happen.
Real life.
Yeah.
But I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I've been doing that for almost 20 years and compete everywhere I can.
Man of a lot of talent.
A lot of maybe talents, or just a lot of escaping to do other things. When it's too stressed, I need to go and escape and do some jiu-jitsu.
And another stressful thing.
Jiu-jitsu is peaceful. You cannot think of bills.
Because you're in the
Anything.
moment.
You can't think of anything when someone's trying to choke you.
Or you think of everything because it's about to go out.
You're about to go lights out.
All you think of is addressing that problem right there at your throat, and the world becomes completely focused.
Crystal clear as you're getting
everything
choked.
else fades
Yeah,
away.
everything fades until it just goes away.
I swear, it's the thing that people love about jiu-jitsu. It's a happy place.
I've always heard that from multiple people who have done BJJ. They're like, yeah, dude, it's where I relieve stress. And it's funny because I've been to like a tournament to watch, and he's like, getting fucking choked out. And then after, he tells me, he's like, yeah, dude, that was so much fun. I was like, bro, what? You were like asleep.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, that's in the Army. That's what we learned is a lot of BJJ and
The Army actually teaches you BJJ?
they call it combatives, but yeah, it's basically all based off that, and then they add in other things. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's kind of weird when you're getting choked out, but it's fun at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to do that, but you're having fun because you're.
It's kind of like
I-
wrestling with your brother when you're a kid, but you're not going to get in trouble for it.
I get it, cause yeah, I mean, I've rolled a couple times. I've enjoyed it.
We're going to roll after this. Actually, we're going to clear.
Yeah, right here. We're gonna clear out this entire thing, guys.
Yeah.
We're gonna roll. But another collaboration, or like I guess another representative of the brand that you guys worked with before was the Royal Air Force, right?
Royal Australian Air Force.
Yes, the RAAF.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, it was their 100th anniversary, and we knew it was coming up, and we pitched to them, and we just threw our hat in the ring, and there were a number of big brands, global brands, pitching for it.
Yeah.
As you would expect. We made the most sense as an Australian brand and a rapidly emerging Australian brand, and it was the first time where we thought, wow, we're actually
Doing something.
we're punching way above our weight, and we're doing something proper. It was such a good feeling. And then we ended up, because of our watches, I don't know how much you know about our watches, but our watches tell incredible authentic stories for a couple of reasons. One, because when Christo founded the brand, it needed to be two things. One, it needed to be Swiss made, which was easy, that's his background. And it also needed to be something uniquely Australian. So what he came up with was a hollow crown. That you can see,
Oh yeah. It has like the sand.
Yeah.
Inside.
And he was putting red earth from the centre of Australia or sand from one of our beautiful beaches. And
That's right.
every watch he was sending out into the world, he was sending a little
Has
piece
a piece
of
of
Australia.
Australia.
Yeah.
Oh my.
And he was
Fuck,
saying,
that's sick.
he was saying, keep a piece of Australia with you. And then, so what we did and how we told the story for the Royal Australian Air Force was that, which is, I think it's amazing. Their motto for the 100th anniversary was then, now, and always. So for then, we went to Point Cook, or the Air Force went to Point Cook, which was, it's now a museum, but in 1912 it was the site of the first Royal Australian Air Force base. So they gave us some soil and we put that in the crown. So that's then covered from 100 years ago.
Wow.
They gave us a piece of the first ever F-18 fighter jet produced and flown in Australia for the case back. We've now got now, so we've got then and now, and then always was their logo on the dial for their roundel, which is their commitment to always serve the Australian people. So it was complete then, now, and always through the watch. It was so good, so cool.
I'm not gonna lie, I got
awesome.
goosebumps
Yeah.
on that. That's so good.
It was amazing. And then they were giving a percentage of their royalties for them went to restoring old planes in their history museum. So they just wanted it to be a part of their history. And we did an aviator, which was a version of the Ocean Moon, and we did an airfield. The airfield came with a key ring that was made out of the Hercules.
Oh my god.
So a different type of plane. We did two types of plane in the airfield, but the aviator stayed with the F-18 fighter jet. Very cool.
Was that like a limited edition or limited, or they have like a specific
limited
number
edition.
they wanted made?
Limited edition. The first 500 was limited and numbered. Everything after that was no numbers, just catch and kill your own. That was the first in best dressed. Pretty cool story.
So sick.
Yeah.
I wish I had one with me, but I only brought the new ones we got. So, but then after that, our next collaboration on the same way was the Invictus Games. So we went from there to Invictus Games. I was there in The Hague last year. Actually, this year? Yeah, early this year. And the watch we did for that, it had their logo on the front. It had the Invictus poem from Ernst Young on the back that says, "I am the captain of the master of my destiny, the captain of my fate." Because the Invictus is about being unbreakable. And in the hollow crown, the medals were made by the Royal Dutch Mint, So they grinded up some of the metals into granules, and they gave us some of the metals to put in the
That
crown.
is really cool.
So every person who bought a watch, win, lose or draw, you were a winner. But that's, every single person that competed at Invictus Games was an absolute hero in my eyes. It was unbelievable. People in any other situation, you'll be diving into the pool to rescue those people because they're drowning. But for them, there is no way they're not making it to the finish line. No legs and one arm, and just swimming. Would float on their back for a while till when they were exhausted, get some more gas, and then they would just turn over and go again. Everyone in the room, everyone around the pool was crying. It was incredible.
That is awesome.
Oh my god.
And that's like with the crown and adding in just pieces of the metals. That is, I don't know. That's just such a cool
that's true grit, right? That's
Yeah.
grit in what it is. The grind for it.
And it's just something different. You think, like this one has the sand and
Has soil.
The
with
ocean moon.
RAF.
The ocean moon has a sand from the beach that Christoph, the founder, swims at every morning. He ocean swims right through from every single day of the year at 5 a.m. He's out there. Sometimes it's dark in winter and it's so cold. And there's about 150 of them. They swim a mile every morning.
Oh my god.
And this is important to him. So he puts that sand in from something that makes his day.
but it's just cool that since the Invictus Games is not like a specific country per se, so
No.
you found a unique way of saying, okay, this is still your home. Like you did something feel proud and
Yeah.
you can always wear that, and no matter where you place, you did something majority of the people will not be able to do.
I didn't know I didn't know that Invictus Games, I thought it's a games, it's Prince Harry's adaptive games for disabled veterans. And it's lots of amputees, lots of PTSD, I didn't realise that, just naively, I thought you had to have the best times to get through, you competed a lot and this was the pinnacle of all of the winners, but it's not.
It's a matter of finishing.
It's a matter of where you are in your recovery from PTSD or from just your mental health from your amputation. I met some incredible people there, and I walked away from there just needing and wanting to do more. It was crazy. But I talked to one guy. He had these horns on. I think he was from Denmark or somewhere. He wore this hat, and he was just a character that you couldn't miss him. And I said, "Hi mate, how are you?" One day I just said I had to say hello. He goes, "I'm shitting myself," and I went, "What for? You're right. You look like you're having a ball." He said, "I've got to swim tomorrow, and I can't swim." And I said, "How'd that happen?" And he said, my PTSD came from a drowning accident. I think it was Denmark or Norway. One of them only brought 12 athletes and they were all PTSD. And he said, I nearly drowned, so I'm going back in the water tomorrow. I'm going to swim a lap of that pool no matter what. And I just had to give him a hug, and that was for me where I went, okay, there's more to this game than the sport.
Powerful.
Yeah.
And that probably gave him an emotional breakthrough once he finished
Once
that.
he touched the water and started moving.
Well, that and then
Absolutely.
knowing that he could get in and go, and
It was crazy. It was such an uplifting place. I've never felt energy like it.
that'd be actually really humbling, I think, to go and see those things.
Yeah.
I came back from there almost in a rage of needing to do more and needing to help more and to stop complaining.
Yeah.
I don't complain a lot, but there are people there that just made me realise that life is so good. So good. So when we got back from there, and I don't know what the next question is, but I pitched, actually it was before that, but I started working in earnest on this next project where I pitched to the US Army. I live not far from the VA building in Brentwood in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And then there's so many homeless veterans around the VA building, and I've been here for 7 years, and it's one thing that I just needed to try to do something. My wife and I wanted to try to make a difference in some way. But then I ended up with a friend of mine, Jamal, who used to do bespoke suits for basketballers, and he still does, but he reached out to me about our watches. And then we started to talk, and he told me about some of the problems that veterans have assimilating back into society after their tour. And then he talked about PTSD, I talked about my PTSD, and then we hit it off really well, and we became a really solid support for each other. Then we started to say, how can we scale this support? Because Jamal's a part of a few veteran organisations, And he took me to a few things. So I got close with the veterans, and then one day I had an idea based off the Royal Australian Air Force idea where they were giving a percentage of sales to the restoring old planes. I wanted to do something for the people. And I cold called one day out of nowhere. I just wrote a pitch to the US Army on their website, expecting never to hear from them again. And then the next morning, the first email in my inbox was from those guys. And I went, whoa. And it said, "Dear Mr. Coote, while historically we've never given a US military license to a non-US brand, we love this concept and we want to keep talking because we'd love to find a way to say yes." That was about a year ago. It took about 8 months of ticking boxes and back and forward with legal and making sure we did everything. We set up a US entity here for Bausele now, so we are a US-based company as well.
I see.
And we're starting to do some good things, and we ended up bringing some of those veterans that we talked to in. I'm a member of a veteran association called Merging Vets and Players that puts veterans and ex-pro athletes together because they both come down from these big highs that they need peer-to-peer. It's a peer-to-peer support group.
I see.
And it's pretty amazing. And a bunch of those guys jumped on. I think we had 4 from MVP, 5, including Jamal, that jumped on our design committee. And they worked with Christoph, a few other vets, and Christoph Hopp, the founder, who's our designer, and then another guy, Serge Pankchek. His Instagram is the Wristplorer. He's a big watch collector and watch writer, and he has a wealth of historical military watch history knowledge. So we had a really solid team, and they had a lot of fun designing it. And we ended up getting an email from one of those guys saying, I just unsolicited said, "I need to say thank you for honouring my service by allowing me to be part of such an amazing, such an amazing project that's going to be helping veterans and bringing me in from the very get-go. Job well done. Thanks, mates. We've got our prototypes made, and they're about to be assembled. We're launching in pre-order today, actually.
Yeah, today's the release.
Yeah, today's the release. And then we're having them assembled here by veterans in the US.
Oh, it's American assembled?
Yep, using Swiss parts.
It's not only getting assembled, it's, isn't it, if I remember correctly, a special organization that's assembling them?
It is the Veteran Watch Initiative. How we found those guys? I was in Australia over last Christmas, back doing some work because our headquarters is in Australia. I came back and I reconnected with Jamal, and I said, "Mate, we've got to try and get these watches made by veterans in the US." And he said, "Funny you should say that." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "While you've been away, I wanted to know more about watchmaking. I was just checking if I could learn how through the veteran, if there was a veteran program, because there's a veteran program for most things.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Yeah.
if I could learn how to do watchmaking." And then he goes, "And here's the watch they sent me, and this is the first one I've made." They sent him out of pack because to apply, you have to there's a test and you have to put this together in under
see.
X amount. And then he actually went up there and he said there's a place called the Veteran Watch Initiative that teaches military veterans how to make watches, and it's an 18-month course, and when they come out of that course they can work in any watch.
As a watchmaker.
As a watchmaker, they're qualified watchmaker, they can work in any.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's very cool.
Chris, have you done it?
No, I'm not.
How have you not done it as a...
First I heard of it was
That's
when you sent me
amazing.
the
It was
information.
founded by a guy called Sam Cannon. He was a SWAT sniper,
Okay.
and he was on the top of a building on a case, and something went wrong, and he ended up falling from the building and ended up becoming like he couldn't work at SWAT anymore.
Yeah.
Set up the Veteran Watch Initiative, and that was 30 years ago, and they've been training people ever since. So we will, a percentage of all of our sales are going to those guys because it's such an incredible cause. It's educating veterans, and we're employing them.
That's amazing.
I would love to have one of their graduates be one of our full-time watchmakers as they graduate through.
For me personally, I mean, it sits home, obviously being a veteran, and I take with a grain of salt a lot of companies when they say they are doing things to help veterans, or doing these different programs. Because on the surface level and their press release level, it looks great, it sounds great. But then you start diving into it, and things just doesn't actually like really benefit the veteran per se. But this, I mean, it goes from the top down. I mean, the love for veterans and the appreciation, or it gets the bottom up.
The bottom up. That's the difference.
Exactly where.
Between.
Well, I mean, I guess I should say you started from the top down, but then you found it to way it goes. It starts from the building of the watches,
and we build it up together.
And it comes up, and then you're putting monetary value with the percentage back into it.
One thing we will never be is write a check, get the photos, and say thanks, guys. See you later.
Yeah. It seems like you guys are grounded. Your boots are on the floor.
Mate, when Jamal took me to a surf day at Malibu, it was I can't remember what the name of the foundation was, but it was all veterans. I've surfed my whole life, and we're out in the surf, and it's only like small waves, but I'm watching these guys paddling gung-ho down these waves, and I knew they were about to get smashed because they don't know what they're doing. They can't see where they are, but they've just got these biggest grins, and they're saying, I don't care, I'm taking this on. And then it would end up like they'd come up out of the water, and then they'd be laughing again, and then the energy was so high. Then when we got on the beach, it was like the energy was still there, but it was like back to the real world now. And I could feel sadness to a lot of them. And it's a sadness that I knew very well from, I had a breakdown in my early 20s. And Jamal and I comparing notes and comparing stories, and the MVP, Merging Vets and Players group that I'm a part of, everyone's got their stories, but we just need to talk more about it. I've got a friend who is, he says to me, I'm the only person that he reaches out to when he's in trouble or when he needs help or something. And I think like that is a big issue for me.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, this is the one I love. When you're a kid, if you break your leg, you get your cast and you proudly show it off, and you get everyone to sign it even.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's a big
badge of honor.
It's a big badge of honor.
Yeah, it is.
But if you have some type of mental health, or you're struggling, whether you come back from war and you've given, your mates have given your life, or there's 22 veterans commit suicide every day in the US. 22, almost one every hour. And how many of those could be saved by talking out? I don't know, but I talk to anyone who'll listen, because my life was saved in my early 20s, and I nearly didn't make it because I was too scared to talk to anyone. Connecting with Jamal and connecting with those guys on the beach, and connecting with the guys at MVP and then Sabbath Foundation, who are doing some amazing stuff for anti-drug recovery. For me, this feels like the most right thing I've ever done. Like from my breakdown 30 years ago right through to now, it's right.
See, going into this conversation, I was wondering, and I was more very, very curious on why an Australian brand is wanting to work with the US Army. But honestly, after sitting down, I don't see any other brand trying to do it.
Australia is the only country who has fought side by side with America in every single battle they've been in. The only country. And the first person, non-US citizen, ever to lead US troops was an Australian in World War I. That day is what started 100 years of mateship between the US and Australia. That was in my pitch to the US Army as well.
I was wondering, because it's like, why is not an American brand doing it? Because I'm so used to the idea of the hobby that we're in, which is watches, being something of a luxury item that, like what you guys were saying earlier, it's like usually surface level. Here's a check, take the pictures.
Yeah.
But your guys' deep involvement, not only in the veterans' lives, but literally from, you guys were saying, the fucking bottom up, is honestly amazing.
From a grassroots level of, there's two guys, Jamal, who's my friend, who helped us put most of this together, or helped me get closer to the veteran community. But the one who wrote that email before, his name is Rohan Martin. Jamal and Rohan served in Iraq together 30 years ago, and we were just talking the other day. They said, Jamal and I were on another podcast, and I said, did you ever think in that time, you must have talked a lot about life, did you ever think you'd be designing a watch with a Swiss watch company out of Australia? And he said, no way.
No way in hell, dude.
But how cool. You know, they loved it.
Yeah.
And it's just another amazing, you know, life moment to tick off on their journey, that they've been best mates ever since they served together. I think they were at Fort Campbell together.
I've learned a lot more than, not sound rude or anything, but usually sitting down with watch brands, they're pitching the watch. They're not pitching the story.
I'm pitching the people, because they're way more important than any product any of us can ever pull together. Watches are amazing, but
it's just a medium to bring us together, right?
Yeah,
That's all
but
it is.
at the end of the day, we've been teasing this watch on Instagram, and then we've been saying, can a watch make a difference? I don't know if it can, but we're certainly going to try.
To go into the watch itself, you mentioned you reached out to the Army, and you wanted to do everything mil spec. What kind of led you down that route, or what made you decide, I want to make sure it's actual mil spec?
Well, that was Christo, the founder, for a couple of reasons. One, he was thinking, how do I do this in an authentic way? I've never designed military watches before. He started researching, and he did a very, very deep dive, and he found the Department of Defense document and read through it, and he said, I think if we do something like this, because we are official US Army, and if we do a watch to one of their Department of Defense documents, or two watches to one of their Department of Defense documents, with our flavour, he thought that would be really cool. So we stayed within those constraints, and you know, some of it was difficult to incorporate the hollow crown, but with the team, they all kind of went back and forward, and people wanted it, and it was good. He wasn't on his own. I don't think he could have done it on his own. He would have been able to do it, but just it would have taken him way longer.
So during that process, is y'all's team working with the DoD or Army or whoever kind of manages the mil spec, or is it they just give you the documents?
We've just got the mil spec documents.
Here
It's
you
like
go.
a
You have
40-page
to, like,
document, right?
Yeah, it's a 40-page
basically
document.
read through it, and
Yep.
you have to make your specs to
Yeah.
exactly what they say.
And the field watch is named reference 31101, because that's on all the details that are on page 31. And then the dive watch is 34101, so they're on page 34. So it's a pretty amazing. I should have brought a copy of it. I'll send you guys a copy of it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, because dude, 40 pages for a fucking watch, it seems excessive. But hey, if there's a reasoning behind it, there's a reasoning behind it.
But here's a proper tool watch. The veterans said, this is what I would need. This is what I would like to see. You know, one of them said, I want to see a big skull and crossbones on it, and whatever.
A fucking Punisher thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they were talking about the uniform between Army versus Navy football team. They had these big.
That's right.
Yeah, they had these big skull and crossbones, and they started to have a lot of fun with it. And then just hang on, we're going to reel it back in a little bit, and like we may do something like that down the track. We've got some good potential collaborations coming up. Not collaborations, but potential limited editions from within this collaboration.
Being back in the Army, most of my watches were Timex or Casios, things of that nature, but I didn't use any of the features other than time, or timer, in sense, like if you know I need to be at a certain point at a certain time, you need to time like how fast are we moving, and that kind of, you start building like your increments of like how long is it going to take us to get somewhere.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, some of these watches, they give you all these things, and like, when you go into the higher end quartz, or higher end, I guess, electronics like Sunto and things.
Yeah,
they
Garmin.
give you the GPS and stuff, and those really only help in emergency situations, and you really hope you're not in those situations.
That's right.
But just timing things is what the main thing you need.
One of the most important things in that document is that the hands have to be the most legible.
Yeah.
You can't have a logo. If the logo is on it, it has to be quite like faded, so nothing stands out. It's quickly, easily read,
At a quick glance, yeah.
Yeah, and it's also for the field watches an NH35 Seiko movement. It's a hacking movement, so it can be just pull out, synchronized. So if you need to synchronize it, bang, you're all back on at the same time, and knowing that you're going to meet back up exactly when you need to.
And that's actually, a lot of people don't realize, and it's obviously in the documents, but it's important. Like, when you're supposed to be somewhere, like if you lose communication, that's the first thing they revert to is like, okay, they say they're going to be here at this time, but if they're not there, then we know something's wrong.
So we actually have the watch here. So by the time this episode is out, the watch has been out. So go ahead and purchase it. We'll put it on the show notes. It'll be on the website and everything. So we'll take a look at these, and then we can continue it on.
I am curious, and I'm sure you'll cover it. The sand on the crown on these ones.
So it is soil in the crown here that will have been marched on, trained on.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Helicopter dust-offs, or I don't know, whatever, everything that's happened. It's a piece of military history going, it's a meaningful connection to your training or your past. So
this is a field watch, bro. I wanted to talk a little bit about you, Arron. So were you always a watch guy?
No.
Nope. Because you came into Bausele very recently as someone who wasn't a watch guy who came into a watch company and made such a loud noise and resurgence.
I think it's, for me, I've been founding businesses since I was 23, 24. I'm 50 now. I started out as a hand-painted sign writer, like painting signs on walls and things.
No.
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely. And what I did learn about business was that, I think it was more a lesson about life, was that there were so many guys turning up to work, all the older guys saying, I hate this job, I hate whatever, and they were just grumpy. And I thought, well, why do you come? And then I didn't know anything about, childcare payments, alimony, or bills. And I was just a kid. I just surfed every day and turned up to work. My life was good. So, but the minute I finished my apprenticeship, I said, I'm going to work for myself. And they said, no. Those guys were institutionalized, they've been there forever. And then they said, what do you know about business? I said, nothing. I know how to do my job, and I know a lot of people will give me work. And then I never looked back. I mean, I made so many mistakes, obviously. I was making things up as I went along. And then now I kind of, down the track, I'm probably, 28 years into business now, founding different businesses. And Bausele is the first business that I've worked for or worked in 25 years that I haven't founded or owned a founding share of. Prior to coming into Bausele, my wife and I had founded a beauty company with some partners, a microfiber makeup remover, and we founded that in May 2017, and we sold it in early 2019 after we were in 4,000 retail stores and over 100 countries online in 18 months. So for me, it's not necessarily about the product. The products are amazing, but Christoph, he's always trying to elevate his products, and these are killers.
So I'm curious, on the dial here you have H3 and then what looks to be like the radioactive symbol.
That's a bit of a pays homage to the vintage watches of the past.
Okay,
I love it.
That's cool. Yeah,
it's about, for me, business is about stories and storytelling, and if you're just selling products, then you're just like everyone else. And if you're actually, if with this project, right, I could get home, like I just got off a plane now, and I've come straight here, and I'm completely pumped. I'm not tired one bit, because I really enjoy this project, and I enjoy the difference it's making to people's lives, and I enjoy the value that I get out of it. There's a book that I love called The Go-Giver, and you know how you always hear he's a real go-getter? Yeah. That's quite selfish. You're getting everything for yourself. But a go-giver is someone who goes out and just keeps giving and adding more value than you take in price. And like, if the world does more of that just in their friendships, their relationships, in their businesses, like, we're in a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. Outside of watches, right? What are some of the things you enjoy doing in your spare time?
I enjoy jiu-jitsu, obviously.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you like getting choked out.
I like. You're going to learn what it's like in a minute after this. No, I do enjoy defending being choked out. I don't necessarily like being choked out. I love jiu-jitsu because of it's similar to the watches. It's about the people. It brings all walks of life together. And what I always teach, the very first class, if a new white belt comes in, they always put the white belts with me because they know I'll look after them. And I always like to get like the smallest, youngest girl or boy, and I like to get them pick me up and throw me.
Yeah.
Because they don't think they can, but with leverage, people don't know how strong they are, but because they don't know how to use the leverage. So it's very empowering. It's very good for mental health, and it just brings all walks of life and allows for more friendships. What do you think?
I like it. Bro, at the back, it says anti-negative vibes.
It's what we're all about. It's what we're all about.
I love it.
Anti-negative vibes. Like, I mean, for PTSD and trauma sufferers, there's always some type of negative vibration there somewhere, you know?
Absolutely.
And it's just a little reminder. I mean, a watch is a reminder of, you know, time. One, the time we've lived and how we spent that. And two, you know, how much time we've got left and how we're going to spend that. And if we're a little bit more aware of time, we can learn from the past and live for the future. You know, I nearly ended it in my early 20s during my breakdown. And I look back at all these things. I look back at what I'm doing now, and I look at this project, and I look at the Wimbledon thing, and I think, you know, the more those things happen, the more I think I would have missed all of that. You know, if I didn't, but I nearly waited too long. I was so close, and I felt so lucky to be able to still be here. And that's why I do talk to everybody, and that's why I want to help as many as I can, because, like, my life's been amazing.
Yeah.
But for a patch there, I thought my life was over, and
So-
I couldn't go through.
I want to ask you, what advice would you give someone who wants to make a change in the world? Let's say that someone wants to affect change.
You don't have to do anything big. Simple rule, don't be a dick, you know? That's enough to start, because everyone that comes in contact with you will have a better day because you weren't a dick. You know, everybody's struggling through each day, and let's be nice to each other. I think that's as simple as it breaks down to. We don't have to do big, huge things, because not all of us have access or the platform to be able to do so. It's just be good to each other.
No, I mean, that makes absolute sense. You guys heard it here. So now I do have a question. So, who would you say is the most famous person you have contact-wise on your phone?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, one you probably haven't heard yet.
Not sure I want to say. It depends in what context, like an actor or a
Everything.
Jean-Claude Bivet.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit, I mean,
That's pretty big.
that's a big one.
Especially in this context. Like, everyone in our kind of hobby should know who that is.
Who JCV is?
Yeah.
Look, there's an article coming out in the New York Times on the 9th that it was supposed to launch today, to launch with the watch, but it ended up being bumped to the 9th of November, and they wanted a heavyweight from the watch industry to weigh in on it, and the 289 Consulting, who we use for our press, who are ex-LVMH, and they run all the big brands, and we're the smallest brand that they've taken on by a mile, but they love our story, and we're coming strong. And then, so the New York Times wanted a heavy hitter, and then they said, Maureen reached out and asked Jean-Claude, and he's commented straight away. What did he say? He said that he can't think, from a business marketing play, he can't think of a better partner than the US Army to enter the US. And then the other comment, he said that the only reason a business should exist in the world, in the state it's in at the moment, is to make a difference, is to help.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
Were you thinking someone else in my phone? Maybe Max Purcell? Someone, I don't know.
That's one. I mean, I was gonna be like, if you call them right now, would they pick up?
Dominic Purcell?
Guys, if you know the show Prison Break. That's who. I was in the Philippines when Prison Break came out.
It was big in the Philippines?
Yeah.
It was huge all around the world. Dom and I went to Paris once to do an in-store appearance there. He was doing Comic-Con and he was wearing our watches, so we organised where our watches are being sold in Paris to go to the store.
That's so good.
We would get home at 3 in the morning to the hotel and there would be people out the front, like 50, 100 people, saying, Dominic! Dominic! Ah! And our big I'm hiding behind our big security guard. Look, my wife used to be an actor's agent, and that's part of what led me into the watch industry. When we were moving to moving to the US, the guys from Bausele, one of the original investors in Bausele, said, Arron and Beck have got a really good network over in the US. You should reach out and see if they want distribution. And then, so we came over here with distribution, started getting into some luxury hotels. We're in all the Montage hotels around the country and some retailers, but then that beauty brand that we founded blew up and we didn't have the bandwidth for it. So I just said to the guys, you need to take it back. And then I gave the distribution back to Bausele. And then as soon as I sold that other company, they said,
Back on Bausele? Yeah.
come on, take over, please. So, and here I am, talking to you guys and
Found himself in...
who's
So
my
from-
phone.
Highlight of your career.
from distribution to when you came back, what was your new role? Or is
Here?
it, yeah.
CEO.
All right, that's a
Damn,
big jump.
straight up. Dude, there
a
was
good
no
one.
progression on that one.
No, I came straight in as CEO, and the first thing we did was rebrand. As I said before, like Christoph loves Australia. It was very Australian.
Like, hold on, how Australia we talking? Like kangaroos and koalas, or?
That's not a knife. This is a
This
knife.
is a knife.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that bad. But it was like Australian country, like Ayers Rock.
I see.
Some kangaroo stuff. We were the first brand ever to collaborate with the Sydney Opera House,
Oh, shit.
which was a crazy watch because of our hollow crown. They took a tile down off the roof that had been on the roof ever since the day Queen Elizabeth opened the Sydney Opera House, ground it up and put it into the tile. On the dial was the sales of the Opera House that only formed the full Opera House at 2:45 p.m. each day, which was when Queen Elizabeth cut the ribbon. It was an amazing storytelling watch, and it's now more that what you think of Australians. I always say it was a bit too Crocodile Dundee and not enough Chris Hemsworth, but it's not. It's an amazing watch company because the watches were incredible. The quality of the watches were incredible. But back then, Christo was just designing watches that he loved and then finding a market
Out
for
of
them.
passion, yeah.
Yeah, just straight out of passion, and his passion is incredible. It does not stop. It won't stop, and which is why it makes my job easy because I know that he's just head down,
I see.
it's like just chase. Super strong. We got a couple of really good things coming next year, with a little connection to that one.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
He's pointed, by the way, he pointed to Chris's AP. Oh, shit. Now I'm interested.
But I'm gonna go back to, you just mentioned about the Opera House, and again, we keep seeing obviously the sand from the bases, sand from the beach, the ground up metal from the Invictus metals, and the tile from the Opera House. Like, it's just, when you get to wear your watches, you have like a little piece either of home or something that might be really important to you. Like if someone's really loves the Opera House or part of that community, then it's just always with you.
We had a person ask us if we would put some of their father's ashes in.
I was actually kind of
where
curious.
I could tell where you were going, and I was like, "Whoa, is that a little bit?" I couldn't tell if it was morbid or if it was a nice thing by him. But the more we thought about it, it was an opportunity for us to do something amazing for someone, and we did do it. And he wrote back just thanking us about how much it means to him to actually have to carry his father around with him in his watch.
I mean, there's just so many applications really for that crown. And obviously right now they're all mostly like, I guess more of the production level. Obviously it's kind of harder to do one-offs like someone's
Ashes.
father's ashes or something like that.
But
it is a market potentially for
within the Royal Australian Air Force, we had several different squadrons do their own version with us. We had 3 crew, and then they had their own logo stamped. And then I can't remember what they had on the back case back or in the crown, but it lends itself to really authentic. We started out doing watches for the Australian Intelligence Corps, and they all served in Afghanistan. So they had sand from Afghanistan in the crown.
The more I fucking learn about this company, the more I just fall in love.
We also have a big jar of Afghanistan sand, enough for about 500 watches. So I'm not saying that we are going to do a limited edition, Afghanistan edition of maybe one of these watches, but there is potential next year.
And that's been so much of majority of veterans now. That's been a part of their life for the last 20-ish years, and like it's part of my life. I've been over there a few times, and that's another thing I thought. I was like, oh man, it'd be cool to maybe have soil of somewhere I know I've been and bled and fought and things like that. So
I was with the veteran yesterday at my house looking at designing he runs a foundation that is going to do a limited edition of this with his personalised to their foundation, because it's also open for that as well. And he has a bullet, like a casing of one of the first sniper shots ever taken in Afghanistan, because they were one of the first boots on the ground. He has that casing, and he wants to melt it down and have a tiny little thin ring on each of the watches, just on the inside of that casing means a lot to him, and he wants to make that into a watch with Afghanistan sand in the crown.
Man, this is amazing. Like one of my very good friends, someone I consider a brother to me, like I said earlier, he served in Afghanistan. He went there 3 times, and I know that like this, he's not a watch guy, but he's been to a few of our events at our local group in Austin, and this is something I am 100% sure that he will fall in love with, not just because of the watch aesthetic, the design, but everything that is behind it. It's huge.
If you, I'm not sure is that connected to the internet?
Yes.
If you open up Bausele US Army page, you'll see the whole design team there. Not the whole design team, but most. You'll see some of the, there's footage of us creating all the way. The page itself feels exactly how I feel about the project. How I felt working through it, and it's sometimes you build a product and you've got to build a page for it, and you've got to sell it, you've got to tell a story. But this one, it just felt into place. It didn't fall into place. It felt into place.
That's amazing.
It's been. I mean, I feel ridiculously privileged and honored to be able to do it.
Yeah, it's huge. I think you guys are enacting change in an actual way.
I don't know. I want to run an affiliate program where any veteran in the country can jump on our affiliate program and make 15-20% revenue, or 15 to 20% of sales just by jumping on our affiliate program and adding it to their Instagram and with a trackable link. So that's
you guys are doing an incredible
that
job.
is on top of anything that we give to veteran charities. So I want veterans actually themselves to be able to make something out of this. I mean, everyone runs their affiliate programs with influencers. Are we not done with influencers yet? No offense, influencers.
Honestly, I'm over influencers.
No, I've been that way for a long time.
Yeah.
You're really not giving it to people who really want it. It's just
I know
they were making money off of that. So like something like that, where a veteran can promote something that
to his brothers and sisters like that. Yeah.
Knowing that, like, again, created from the watchmakers of veterans, proportions of the sale are already going back into a veteran community.
Designed by veterans,
and it's like mil spec, so it comes from veteran like heritage, like lineage and stuff. So like there's just
Man, let me tell you something that I came in, I knew I was gonna like the watches. I ended up liking the brand a lot more. So I want to thank you again, Arron. Like having you on, it means a lot. Fuck, man, like it got emotional. Like I got emotional just hearing the stories.
Well, mate, thanks for having me. And I just want to tell this story to anyone who'll listen. It needs to be told, I think, and not just from business point of view or marketing, forget that.
Uh-huh.
Because I know what it's like to be at the,
Yeah.
just with the weight of the world on you and think, I'm not coming out of this. But it's not too late. Reach out.
That's
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm in a few veteran groups, and even within ourselves, we tell each other to reach out, and it could be your best friend, and you just don't know. Like, they don't reach out, and then next thing you hear is the bad news, and you're just like, man, like,
I
I'm
know.
right here. Like, you can call me at whatever time in the morning, and I'll talk. Like, we can talk, whatever. Like, if I need to drive to your house, I'll
I'll
do
be
it.
there.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 a.m, whatever. I don't care.
I don't
like
care, I'll be
it's.
there.
I mean, I would rather that. I would rather cry. I'd rather hug you while you cry than me have to cry at your funeral.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I may have stolen that from Nate Boyer, who was part of our veteran design program. He just released a movie called MVP.
Uh-huh.
And this is just shows how bad it was. At the end of filming the movie, there were 51 people from a certain squadron or a certain platoon had committed suicide since 2008. And they finished filming the movie last year. And by the time they got to the launch, the release, it was now then up to 54 from the same group. I mean, we have to do more.
Yeah. So I want to thank you, Arron. Thanks for coming on. We'll be putting up veteran helpline on the notes and everything else. We'll do that.
Also, if anyone needs anything,
Reach out.
Put up my personal Instagram, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Reach out, DM me. I'll always talk back. Always
Absolutely.
help, and I'm happy to do my thing.
Notes too. Let's put that veteran watchmaker
Yeah,
organization.
we'll put the veteran watchmaking thing, everything that we've talked here. We'll put it because
that's
I
really
think-
interesting that I'm gonna look into.
But it's in-
just to promote more.
It's in an old ambulance station converted to a watchmaking school in Odessa, Delaware. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Anyways, guys, we're closing off. Check out Bausele's release. Check out their story. First and foremost, it's Bausele.com.
BAUSELE.com.
And on their Instagram as well, it's the same thing.
On the Instagram. And get behind us. And if you need any help with anything, and if you can help spread the word, I'm here. It's not a one-way street. I give as well.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks. We'll see you guys on the next one.